Welcome back to the Comic Book ER Show, the show where I take... Alright, hold on a minute. There's something missing. There's something wrong. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Can you guess what it is? Not the pen. Wrong. Incorrect. Not the pen. Something's missing. What do you think it could be? No, it's not the fucking laptop. It's something you've worn every single episode. It's not getting naked. Don't do that. It's in every single episode. You've worn it every... Yeah, alright. Welcome back to Comic Book ER, emergency room show where we take characters from comics who have been in live action and adapt them respectfully in universe and comic book respectful, so everybody's happy. I'm your host, Dr.Kleb. Any pictures, storyboards, characters, music, articles, things that you see are not owned by me and owned by their respective companies, organizations, writers, musicians, and creators. Today, we face another character, yet who this show was made for. And I'll just get right to it. Our next victim today shall be Tiger Woods. I mean Booster Gold. My apologies. And I mean the version made by CW specifically, because I will not be focusing on the Smallville version, even though I know he has a Smallville version. It's just... between the two, that one's most comic accurate. Alright, yeah, I'll just get into it. So in the comics, his name is Michael John Carter, with the nickname Booster that he got from his football career, hoping to make it in the big leagues. His mother was suffering from some sort of disease, and so he starts betting on his own games and trying to get treatment for his mother. And he was arrested for gambling, and then after he was set free from prison, he gets a job as a security officer working in a museum. A museum, of course, in DC has all the superhero nostalgia from every era, because he lives in the 25th century. Is that right? Yeah, he lives in the 25th century, and he has a sister who becomes a character. She becomes a character also, but we're not really focusing on her. Gold Star, that's her name. And then he basically just wants to prove himself better than what he is, and so he steals some stuff from the museum, and he steals all this futuristic stuff and artifacts, and uses Rip Hunter's time machine, which is ironic because that's his son. Don't know how that happens. And then he goes on this adventure as a hero, eventually teaming up with a lot of other characters. He's most commonly shown with Ted Kord Booster Gold, which we know that character gets killed off, and then so he's in a lot of adventures. Basically, he just goes on all these adventures trying to prove himself to be a hero. And that's all he really wants to do, is prove himself worthy of being a hero, just like his heroes. And he kind of wears like a futuristic getup that he stole from, like all the stuff that he stole from the museum. It's like all from people who have just done things over the years. And his suit is that it allows him to... He has quantum energy physiology. He can time travel. He has retrocognition. He has energy projection, flight, intangibility, temporal resistance. He's athletic. As I said, he was football. He's a football person. So according to his costume, he has a Legion flight ring that allows him to take flight. He has a power suit that has all kinds of metahuman powers in it, and it has advanced microcircuitry powered all-purpose combat suit and it's very extremely durable. It gives him superhuman strength. It has a force field in it. It has time travel circuitry made apparently from between some OMAC project and New 52, I guess. And he has gauntlets that allow him to have energy blasts. He has a visor, enhanced vision and hearing because of the suit. Okay, here's some trivia. Booster Gold is an atheist. That's interesting. He has an older twin. Booster Gold is a twin, and Gold Star is a sister, as we said. According to one of the Blue Beetles, Booster Gold thinks to himself in a language called Esperanto, and apparently that's like the language of people in the 25th century. Interesting. And he managed to gain the respect of Batman. So, alright. He has very futuristic, like almost like a sleek get-up. But then there's also another costume that he has that is almost way more advanced, and it's just like, it doesn't have the collar part. And so sometimes he has the collar, and in the new ones he doesn't have a collar. He has kind of like just like a jumpsuit from head to toe, and it's supposed to be an advanced suit from the 25th century, and he was apparently born in the year 2442. So, that's pretty crazy. And apparently he gets the name Booster Gold because of one of his time travel endeavors. He saves like Ronald Reagan from an assassination, and he asks him what his name is, and he says Booster Gold out of anxiety, and Booster Gold he is named. And he is known also as the hero that nobody knows. And he also he goes around with, he has an assistant named Skeets who he stole from the museum, which is this like AI that knows all the things in all the history of DC basically. And he knows about all the characters, all their history, everything from the museum. And he steals Skeets, he steals it all, and he takes it with him. He even has a ship, I believe. And, which I believe is Rip Runner's time machine. But anyways, let's move on to the God forbidden live action. So the reason I've chosen to do specifically the CW version of Booster Gold is because, yes, I know there is a version in the show Smallville, which I have my own things about. It's a fun show for its time. But for one, season 10, Superman's still not called Superman, he's called the Blur. It's time to call him fucking Superman. But by the end of season 1, if he's not called Superman, what the fuck are we doing? Anyways, Booster Gold is in that show, and he looks like a race car driver, and he has glasses and doesn't wear a mask, and he's a dick. He's not like a hero. He saves one person. That person later goes to fight him, and one of his best friends is Ted Kord, and he's like blackmailing him. And so, even though all that shit isn't comic accurate, I'm deciding to work on something way worse than that. Because at least the costume looks similar. At least it's like they tried. But this version, they just call him Mike. And he is known as a fixed point fixer. And, he works with these people called the Time Police, apparently, and his code name is Booster Gold, but that's not known until the very last 2 seconds of the show. And the only reason I thought about doing this version is because when he appears, he only appears in the very end, and his existence is to just be there at the end in 1916 and to play golf while all these men are dying. And it's kind of rambunctious. It's kind of a point where it's like so casual that it's campy. And they kind of forgot what they were doing, I think. When they got to this point in the show, they forgot what the show was about. And I feel like if you got so lost that you just don't know where to go, you should just go back to the original, right? Go back to what made the show amazing. Rip Hunter. Even though he's not part of the show anymore, it's time travel. There's always a version of him somewhere out there in history, right? So I've decided to work on this version of him, and he doesn't really have a costume. He just kind of dresses like Tiger Woods, which is why I made that joke in the beginning. And I would like to give him an actual costume. Not only that, but I would like to even give him maybe even like a chance to actually be Booster Gold for a second. Because why have an entire TV show that starts with Rip Hunter and you end it with Booster Gold, but then Rip Hunter never meets his father? I think that should have been the point. It shouldn't have been, oh, whoever this guy is who creates time travel, sure, you can have him in it. It's fine. But this is not Booster Gold. They call him Mike, the Fixer. And it's the worst version of... There's only two versions of Booster Gold. You know, there's only two versions. But this is disgusting to look at. I mean, I know this guy is a good actor. I know they could have done better than this. So, I had an idea. We're going to make a couple, maybe 2 costumes, a couple of them, and we're going to try to fit him in the show and make it make sense. Not too campy, but again, it's CW, so let's try. So back in the day when CW was making all these shows, like the Legends show, like the Arrow show, like the Flash, they were hell-bent on making at least his suit. They were doing a very good job of translating it into live action. See, when you translate a character like Booster Gold into live action, it's like you have to, like, does it make sense with his personality? Does it make sense for him to be wearing this? By the way, the guy was born in the 25th century. Why is he wearing clothes from, like, the 2000s? It doesn't make any sense. He's supposed to be wearing futuristic clothing. You see, the suit that he wears is like, it's a combat suit, but it's supposed to be, like, thin. Almost like a cloth, but it's bulletproof. Kind of like the same thing when you see Batman Beyond wearing, where he pulls his mask off and it looks like cloth, but it's bulletproof, it's waterproof, flameproof. It's a very advanced futuristic technology that's yet to exist, type of thing. So it's a little bit of fiction in there. But the thing about Booster Gold is that he's a very like extroverted type character. You know, he wants to prove himself. He pretends to be a hero. He dresses up like a hero. And so in his mind, you could give him the most campy outfit in the world and it would make sense. You know, because he's trying to look like a hero. He's trying to be a hero because he wants to prove himself that he's not a loser, that he's not just a nobody. He wants to be one of the best. He wants to be one of the greats, like Batman, like Superman. You know, these are his, like, idols. Blue Beetle, you could even say, you know, and he goes on all these time travel endeavors that, you know, it's like there's just a lot of things that happen to him while he's going on these adventures, and one of these adventures, he apparently has Rip Hunter as a son in the comics, and so he's a character in the Legends show, and so this version of here that you see me on drawing is I made 2 versions. I made a CW type version where CW kind of had this thing where they were trying to make like a comic accurate suit for each character, but later they spent all their budget on CG, which it wasn't even very good, but that's where all the money went. But back in the day, it went all towards the suits. All the money went towards the suits and a couple special effects here and there. But with a character like him, he was like kind of almost being someone that he's not in a way. You know, and I don't even mind that they did like a race swap. That happens all the time. But if you're going to do it, actually do it. He's not Mike. All right. He wants to be Booster Gold. He wants to be a hero. He's not somebody who serves a fucking other person. Right. He can join groups. And I think that there should have been a point in this show where when the final season came, and they didn't know that the show was getting canceled, by the way. But just for reference, you know, it's like, when you make a show, you can't assume that you're going to get future seasons. So you have to count on every season as if it's your last when you're making a TV show. So a lot of the CW would do in the beginning is a lot of their live action costumes were kind of like the early days were like jackets. Like they would wear this really nice leather jackets, as you kind of see from Smallville, but then they would translate them. I'm not a huge fan of the fake abs, you know. And if you're going to show something like abs, don't put it on a piece of leather, you know? Why does the suit have abs, right? Like, that's supposed to reflect that he actually is built that way, and that's like as soft as like silk, and it's like shaping his body. Booster Gold is the one with abs. I just want to point that out. So if you're making a costume, don't put fake abs on it because it'll look campy and it just won't look right. And so this version I'm doing, they kind of had the thing where they would like, I just try to put in some futuristic ideas there, whereas boots, instead of the openings being in the front, it's the future, so maybe he has openings on the back, right? And then I thought maybe to put the collar in there just as a reference, just to be like, oh, he wants to be like his heroes. And so yeah, and I think it's very weird to have the Legends show end with Booster Gold and have him never meet Rip Hunter. And Rip Hunter is his son, which I didn't know that before researching him. So that's interesting. Why cut that out? That's perfectly good content. They could have used that. That would have been a great, like, almost like a Star Wars feel to it, where they could have had Booster Gold even start, like, in Season 7, Episode 1, they could have had Booster Gold be introduced and have him join them, be the new leader, and then maybe Sarah and him fight over leadership because he's like, oh, I've been in lots of groups that I can't name because of legal reasons. And I just think it would be interesting if that was like the arc that they went for. So that way in the end, the twist could be, oh my God, Booster Gold is Rip Hunter's father. And that would be like, I'd feel like they would be bringing the show full circle without leaving it cliffhangered on waiting for a season that's never coming. Because that's kind of just like fucked up. You can't just make a show 7 seasons. It makes sense if it was like 2 seasons, right? Or even 1. I could go for even 3, but 7 seasons? 7? 7's a big number for a TV show. And for it to end on a cliffhanger is really fucked up. And I'm just saying that right now. Yeah, and then throughout the season you could have had like his sister appear, Gold Star, and him be Booster Gold for that whole season. And I don't know if you've seen there, but I messed up at first, and I accidentally gave him yellow boots. So I corrected myself on that. But this is kind of like a CW style suit, which I understand it's not very like... It's kind of my way of being like, this is probably what they would have made if they didn't waste all their budget and they just like gave up on writing. And yeah, I think it also would be a good opportunity in that season if you would have had some sort of Blue Beetle, somebody, and maybe some of the people from the original first. Because I think the show should have come full circle, and I think it should have ended with him meeting Rip Hunter somehow, and it coming full circle. Maybe you find out the origin of Rip Hunter, for like how Rip Hunter was like came into this world. And I think you could do it any way you want, but I think it would be funny if they met as strangers and Skeets was the one that told him, because he would know out of anyone. I mean, other than fucking Rip Hunter himself being like, oh, I know who my parents are, but maybe he doesn't. He's done so much time travel, maybe he's forgotten. And maybe this is a version of Rip Hunter that's, not died yet. And I honestly, I think around maybe season 4. Season 4 is kind of the season where I stopped watching, because I got to a point where they were kind of like, they were going so far from the original material that I was just like, it's not really the same show anymore, and I'm not really enjoying it as I would. And if I'm not enjoying a show, I don't continue watching it, because it's kind of like a job at that point, and it shouldn't feel like you're working to watch something. It should feel fun, and it should feel relaxing, and it's just sometimes that stuff, it's just hard for me to follow. And so yeah, this version here, Skeets, I made Skeets kind of I had an idea that Skeets could have maybe been like a small futuristic Wave Rider, which is why I gave him a second set of little gold wings that you've seen, because I thought it'd be kind of like interesting to be like, oh, maybe that's where they got the idea for the Wave Rider in the first place. is that his Skeets was based off that. But I also learned that there's a character called Wave Rider, so it's like that show could have done a lot of things. Could have introduced the Wave Rider character in Gold Star. Could have introduced Blue Beetle Ted Cord. Could even gone as far as the original Blue Beetle. What's his name? Dan something. I can't remember off the top of my head. But him, the original Blue Beetle, and then Ted Cord, and then evolve into the newest one that everybody always wants to do. But I mean, they never focus on the original Blue Beetles. And Booster Gold's character was such a good opportunity to focus on Ted Cord. And you could have had a moment, where maybe he eventually talks about Ted Cord all the time. And eventually they go to a time period where they find out that Maxwell Lord could have been a villain. Could have had Ted Cord in the last season. Maxwell Lord could have killed off Ted Cord, just like in the comics. But there's no Wonder Woman there, right, to save you. Instead, maybe Booster Gold feels like he's going down a dark path. That could happen, but it's kind of like Booster Gold's kind of like an optimistic character, even in the face of pessimism. So it's kind of like showing him bright gold, bright blue is not really crazy because he lives for that stuff. It's not goofy to him, and also he lives in the 25th century that I mentioned, and that's pretty far in the future. So who's to say that what we think is cool now could be lame in the future? Whatever we think is lame today could be the coolest thing in the future. It just depends. And so this version that you see that I'm doing now is, I just wanted to make two suits. I didn't want to just make a single one. But I wanted to show you that you don't have to settle on the first one that you make. This one I thought to go more high-tech. Way more high-tech. And, what'd I say? Higher tech. Yeah, just high-tech entirely. And it was based off of the new 52 Booster Gold suit, which doesn't have as much grooves. It's just kind of like in the beginning, in the very top. But I wanted to have where it was like, it looked like he had a bunch of stuff on him. Like, his suit is deprived of many different things that he's taken from the museum. So it's like he has the gauntlets, he has the ring, the Legion ring, he has, which the Legion people, they were shown in the Supergirl show. So, having him show up and wearing the ring, it's kind of something you've already teased. So I don't think it's really that wild to have him appear in it, and and then have him wearing high tech also, because I was like, for high budget reasons. See, the original one that you see me drew a second ago was my low budget suit, because CW used to make these low budget costumes back in the day, but they would work very hard on them. Low budget meaning like they literally didn't have enough money sometimes for certain episodes, but they had these $1 million costumes in like these closets, and they were perfect. They were good enough. They were very comic accurate, trying, in those days they were really trying hard to balance dull versus too fabulous. And in this version I decided to make the Skeets a little more sleek, but still going with like the Wave Rider idea, and have the idea that he has like this digital eye like on his face, like a screen that shows like a digital eye, and then maybe do like the little thing because futuristic stuff, added in more plates. The fingerless thing is kind of like just to show more of his human parts, just because his suit kind of completely like sometimes characters like to be shown wearing the reason why they put him in that clothing is because they want him to he's very grounded, right? He wears yellow and blue, but they made him so grounded that he's not even that character anymore, and you can't go that grounded. It's way too dull. That's the stuff we're talking about, where we're putting on a character and they're giving him a t-shirt. And that's just, it's too far. So you have to find kind of like a even medium. And I don't mind like the hat that he wears, like a hat that has a star on it. I'm just not a fan of the whole golf thing. Because for one, why would Booster Gold be involved in golf? What was he? Was he a golfer in the 25th century? No, he was a football player. So why would I have him play golf? He probably doesn't even know what that is. But apparently, football is still popular in the 25th century. Also a century that Thawne was in. Thawne was a villain for one of the seasons. You could have had him be a season, have him fight Booster Gold, have him have a little time travel adventure. I think OMAC would be interesting if you did the OMAC project. You could have it so Skeets gets like under control. Also, apparently Sue Dibney dies, and I'm pretty sure that was a character in the Flash show. So that would be an interesting thing. Very interesting. Yeah. And I think that was during around the same time where his Ted Cord gets killed. And then come along New 52, and it's the Jaime Blue Beetle section. So this little picture I'm making here is my idea that in the end, instead of them being in like 1916, I didn't really pick a location, but I was just like, wherever they are, I think there needs to be a moment where he should have been Booster Gold, and he should have met Rip Hunter, and that would have at least been it full close. You know, it would have made it full circle. And him at least meeting Rip Hunter needs to happen because it's like a part of his story, you know? And you've already cut so much part of a story out. And it's just crazy to take anything else out besides that. And it's like he needs something to resemble him, and this is kind of like the worst version I've ever seen. And not to mention, Booster Gold could have appeared. You could have a moment where he goes back to the what is it called? Flashpoint timeline, because Booster Gold had his own series in that, and you could have had a moment where you visit all the other shows and stuff, but then he goes back, you know, and then maybe he like thinks that Flash is involved somehow, and because he changes reality a lot, and then it goes back to season 3, and he meets like the rival and stuff, and which would be fun to see him again, you know. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do with Booster Gold. Literally, the options are endless, and they kind of went with like the way that they went with it in the Legends show was a way where you give someone infinite creativity and they create a rock, you know. They're like, oh, choose all. It's like choosing all the ice creams in the world. Fucking cotton candy, goddamn mountain flavor, you know, unicorn shit. Any flavor you could think of. Mariana Trench fucking flavor. Any flavor. Cosmic Stardust. And you choose vanilla. Not even, you know, even worse than that would be like, this is like having all those options of ice cream and choosing gluten-free ice cream. I don't even know what that means, but you get the idea. It's like, he is a time traveler. You could have done so much. You could have had an episode where you could have introduced him by having Doomsday pop in, and he fights a version of Doomsday with one of your Supermen, you know. You could have had every single moment in his comics, even Ted Cord's death, Maxwell Lord being a villain, Thawne being a villain, the Time Masters, kind of late, but, you know, all these things, the OMAC project, the, all these, there's a lot of things he could do. He was also in the Justice League, obviously, you could have done so much, and it's just kind of like, I wish they would have done more. And this is what I would have gone with. And I'm just kind of making little like cartoon versions of the people from the original show in the background because I've been wanting to say this for a while, and I apologize if my drawings aren't not the best. I kind of have a degenerative disease. Like, I don't have a disease. I have a degenerative thing where my veins kind of cause. It's hard for me to draw. Basically, you don't really need to know the origins of what's going on, but I just want to say, these are kind of like as I make these little action scenes as like a reference. And so making even one of these is kind of difficult for me. But I just kind of wanted to show a moment where Rip Hunter and Booster Gold are reunited. And maybe the hug. And I thought it'd be an interesting if... this is just me kind of spitballing ideas here. I didn't really have like a story like all the other ones. But because Booster Gold is like African American, right? It's kind of interesting because Rip Hunter is like a white dude, which means his mother has to be white. Because if Booster Gold gets with a woman who's also African American, you know what I mean? How is Rip Hunter white as fuck? I don't like. It's an honest question, but I think what's interesting is that would we be really really crazy? Because I noticed at the end of the show they made it so Sarah was pregnant, and that would be absolutely insane if they made it so Sarah was Rip Hunter's mother. And so it's like the entire show, after he stops being in charge, he basically, I know that's not like comic accurate, but that's how you could do it. You could do whatever you want. Do not be afraid of the creativity. Do not be afraid to do all kinds of crazy, silly stuff. If you want to make it so Rip Hunter's mom is the person he recruited for Legends in the first place, if you want, you could even go as far as saying that the Black Canary was his mother. You could do anything you want. Honestly, don't be afraid of it. The whole point of writing and making content is to have fun in the first place. That's number one. Right. All the other rules are to be, do it correctly. Do it so it's comic accurate, but it's so that it fits with what's going on. All kinds of stuff. But mostly, it's like, do it because you enjoy doing it. Do it because you want to do it. Do it in a way that you think would be the coolest. And you don't have to do it the exact way that I do. But I'm hoping somebody sees this and they're inspired to make content their own way and stop making it in a way that sucks. Like having Booster Gold appear in the very last episode of your show. He appears in the last episode and he's called Booster Gold within the moments before credits. He goes, "I'm Booster Gold," and he's like, "No, you're not. You're Mike. You're not even Mike. You're Tiger Woods." Like, and it's just like that's all I want. Is I just want somebody to see this and just them to be inspired to make stuff comic accurate and so that it's fun to watch. Because seeing Tiger Woods play golf in World War One, not fun. Not the most boring thing possible. And so having him go on all these time travel adventures with the son, fun. And so, these are basically what I came up with. One last thing I want to mention, too, before I end it, is I want to say that when it comes to Booster Gold, Skeets is such an important part of his character. Like, sometimes Skeets is the only person he has to talk to. Most of his info he gets from Skeets. Skeets is like his buddy, right next to him every moment. Smallville didn't do that. Skeets was like an earbud, and they made it even worse. In this Tiger Woods ass version, they had it so Skeets was goddamn AirPods, and you can't do that. He's a robot from the 25th century. Honestly, if it's hard to make him in CG, excuse me, if it's hard to make a character that floats around and gives information, you could do it physically. You make him look like R2. Honestly, you could do anything, but don't not make them exist. That's all I have to say. And I want to thank you for watching. I hope everyone enjoyed this.